So we are back with an update on 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After Season 9. If you'd like to check out my part 4, I will link it in the corner for you. But in this video, we're going to be getting into the very last episode of the season very briefly, and then we're going to get into the tell-all part 1. So we're going to start off with Jovi and Yara, Andre and Elizabeth, and Alexi and Lauren. So after Jovi tells Andre and Elizabeth about Lauren and Alexi leaving the trip early, now Liz is looking at Jovi like he's some type of instigator, completely overlooking the fact that she was the one telling Yara to watch out for Lauren and saying that she was making fun of her behind her back. So by the evening, they're all sitting around a campfire, and this whole situation comes back up in conversation, and it goes completely left, as you would imagine, because Liz is delusional and so is Andre. They just pretty much feed off of each other. They honestly believe that Jovi was the problem and Liz did absolutely nothing wrong, and it was also Yara's fault for saying something after Liz had said that to her about Lauren, and she's just taking no accountability at all in this moment. Jovi even goes on to say that drama and problems seem to follow them, especially when you look at the fact that they don't even have contact with most of Liz's family right now. And I think even though her family can be a lot, Andre drove the biggest wedge between them, not being able to ever control his mouth and his actions. But of course, Liz completely ignores that and puts everything on Jovi and Yara, and although Jovi has his issues, he was right for bringing up that it was basically Liz that started this whole mess. But Liz and Andre end up leaving on a bad note, and Liz even tells Yara bye B in her own language. So I think that it's fair to say that my analysis was right and Liz was full of BS. A friendship with her is just going to be as toxic as the marriage she has with Andre, probably. Next, we have Gino and Jasmine. So now that Jasmine has given birth to her and Matt's daughter Matilda, there is a genuine fear that Gino is going to see this legal action against her through, and Matt could actually lose her and the baby, since Gino would technically be the legal father since they're still married. While Gino is out here trying to get back into the dating game, Matt's mom and sister come over to visit and see the baby, but Matt initially lied to his mom to make his and Jasmine's situation sound better by saying they were engaged. His mom is super Christian in that she believes you are most definitely going to hell because you're out here living in sin, being with Jasmine while she's married to Gino, and also having a baby together when they're not married. Now, at the end of the day, Matt tries to propose to Jasmine with a string because he doesn't have anything else at the time, and it was kind of spur of the moment, but she basically tells him that she can't really give an answer right now, so it was kind of like a no, considering everything that was going on at that moment. Next, we have Darcy and Georgie. So we left off with them at the bar. Georgie is trying to open up about his feelings regarding having kids, but obviously Darcy is way past the age of having any more kids. But instead of just listening, she's fidgeting around and just seems distracted or like she wants to be anywhere else in the moment. So he starts raising his voice, but then things kind of calm down a bit after. And Darcy is just at this point where it sounds like she's giving up on the marriage and just wants to let Georgie be free. He's over here hugging her, telling her he loves her, but she starts walking out and he's yelling after her that she's giving up on the marriage and she's also the one to just give up on them so easily. But I mean, what else do you want her to do? Wait around until you feel like leaving her because you want to go have kids? Like, I'm not sure what he wanted from her in that moment. Like, of course she's gonna be disappointed and just be ready to just give up because she can't give you what you're asking for. Lastly, we have Brandon and Julia. So they're now starting to get things in order for their baby, but they're still fighting about telling their parents or when to tell their parents. And Julia is saying that it's because she doesn't want Betty, Brandon's mom, to be overly involved. And I could understand that because she has shown over the years that she doesn't really believe in boundaries. However, I do think they're still going to have to say something soon, being that Julia is already in her second trimester and she's going to start showing eventually. So they at least tell their friends about it and ask them about being their child's godparents, but they also believe that she's going to have to say something to their parents very soon because it might cause an even bigger rift than what they have now. Now let's get into the first part of this tell-all. So the couples gather in New Jersey to get things poppin'. They all meet up at a mansion. First we have Jovi and Yara, then Darcy and Georgie follow in after. They've become friends after meeting up with each other a few times in Miami. I actually forgot that the majority of the couples on this show this season are actually in Florida, so yeah, they could have just easily met up with each other. Then we had Brandon and Julia. Julia is now 6 months pregnant, but they still haven't said anything to their parents, and Julia is now saying that she also doesn't want to say anything to the other couples about it either. Jasmine comes in by herself and she's terrified that it was Gino driving up after she arrives, but ends up being Guillermo without Cara because they're still separated. Then we got Liz and Andre. Turns out they haven't spoken to Jovi and Yara or Lauren Lauren and Alexi since their little couple's getaway, and I honestly didn't expect them to, but they're quick to talk smack about Jovi and Yara, watching them in the pool from afar. Cara strolls in, then Lauren and Alexi, and they're already expecting to probably end up in a fight with Liz and Andre at some point, and they probably weren't wrong to think that, but what was really interesting was when Lauren said that she was embarrassed that she'd called Liz a friend for as long as she did, and I was like, girl, I was embarrassed for you too. When Cara sees Guillermo, she just kind of shakes his hand and it's just awkward, but Gino comes in a little while later claiming he has the proof to prove that Jasmine cheated on him before he agreed to the open marriage. Basically the same proof that he was talking about in the show that we still hadn't really seen, but anyway. He doesn't say anything to Jasmine when he goes into the house. He catches word from a few of the others that Jasmine has been doing a little bit of yapping about their relationship, and he just comes out of nowhere and asks her if she's been talking crap about him, and Liz is the one to kind of shut it all down. But it was kind of hilarious that Cara was in the middle of it talking about facts, that's facts, when Gino was calling Jasmine a cheater, and I was like, girl, aren't you about to be in the hot seat tomorrow for the same thing probably? Yeah, I would probably suggest you sit that one out, Andre pulls Jovi aside to ask him about why he blocked him and Liz on social media, and I appreciate Jovi for not beating around the bush and just saying that it was because he didn't want to talk to them. But then he tells Andre that he needs to grow up, and I agree, but Jovi darling, you can be really immature as well, but just in a different way. And we actually see that kind of play out because Andre actually was pretty calm in talking to him about the whole situation, but then I guess Jovi was getting irritated and he just smacked the bottle and it landed by Andre, so it was just kind of like, okay, I mean, just have a conversation. I don't know why we're smacking bottles now. So now they started throwing the water bottle at each other, and then you have Guillermo and Georgie kind of walk in to see what's going on, and Guillermo points out that it makes no sense that Andre is out here calling Jovi a little B word and a little girl, but wants to be his friend. It's kind of weird. And then there's an exchange of a lot of words between Gino and Jasmine. He even ends up calling her the B word. And in that moment, I wanted to tell Yara to just shut the hell up. She was saying things like, oh, he's the one that's actually hurt. She just kind of wants to clear her name. And although I agree to some extent with that statement, I feel like they're both guilty of contributing to the state that their marriage is in right now. And after watching these two for years at this point, I can say that both of them suck, honestly. But let's continue. So the next morning is tell-all day. Matt arrives. It's his first tell-all, and it's hella weird when Jasmine introduces him to everyone, but shortly after the introductions, they all get to set. Sean enters the chat to let everyone know that Tiger Lily and Adnan won't be joining them, which I think we kind of already knew. But when we get to Brandon and Julia, Julia walks off to collect herself because she's very emotional because of their fertility journey and whatnot. But I think it's also because she's been hiding the fact that she's currently 6 months pregnant. But we start things off with Gino and Jasmine. Oh, and Matt. Yeah, Matt. Can't forget about Matt. They talk a little bit about Matilda, but then we find out that the engagement and wedding band that Jasmine had got from Gino, she actually had a jeweler make them into earrings for Matilda, and it was honestly hilarious. I think she really should have just given them back to Gino, but anywho. They rehashed the moment that she told him that she was pregnant, and Gino was breaking down and unraveling, and he was clearly hurt because that's what he wanted. He wanted to have a child with Jasmine, but in this moment, you can see that Jasmine is tearing up, and Gino wasn't having it. He says that she never loved him, their relationship was one big fraud and a scam, and Lauren comes in and says that she doesn't believe that, considering that this woman was out here sucking his toes. And y'all, I completely forgot about that up until this point too. I was hollering because yeah, this woman was really out here sucking this man's toes. If she didn't love you in those moments, I don't know what to say. But Georgie butts in and he asks Jasmine why she didn't just leave when they started having issues, and I'm like, Georgie, ain't that you still sticking things out with Darcy even though y'all had a bunch of issues on this season and previous seasons? I'm just saying. But anyways, while Jasmine is having a moment, Matt jumps in to say that for months she was asking this man for forgiveness, talking about Gino now, and to come back to the house, but Gino didn't want her back. But I was trying to figure out what she was asking for forgiveness for exactly. Was it because she actually did cheat, or because she wanted to make things right with Gino but didn't actually do anything wrong? But anyways, that's when Brandon asks if there's any way for them to be on cordial terms with each other, and Jasmine says that Gino told her that the only way to make it right was if she self-deported, and this would mean that she would have to return to Panama without Matilda, and if she's unable to come back, then she wouldn't be able to see her. However, I do want to to ask, since I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot about this because of everything that was going on this season, but doesn't Jasmine have 2 other kids in Panama that we have yet to hear an update on? Gino was supposed to get the paperwork together to bring them over, but that was right before things started going downhill in their marriage. But now I'm trying to figure out what exactly is the plan here for them, since Jasmine pretty much messed that up. Is Matt gonna be their bonus dad now? Is he gonna be trying to bring them over and help to fight to keep her over in the US as well? There's just a lot going on, and don't get me wrong, I do think that Jasmine has to take accountability for her actions and decisions, but there is now a child here, so you know, she does have to think about her too. But this part of the conversation was getting pretty intense, understandably, so they switched gears to how things were progressing with Matt and Jasmine, and how at the end he tried proposing to her after feeling pressure from his mom, but Jasmine couldn't really give an answer. Jasmine then says that she feels like she doesn't really want to get married to anyone ever again after everything with Gino, and even though her lawyer is telling her that if she would marry Matt, it would help her because he's an American citizen, she doesn't really want to hear anything from anyone about her possibly using him for a green card if things don't work out. She also goes on to say that sometimes she just wants to be by herself, and Andre, even though he can be really annoying at times, he does make a good point. He says, "You made a child already. You can't do that ish." That's basically what he said. And if she was an American, I feel like, yeah, that would be the easy thing to say and just do, but considering the predicament she's in, that's not really much of a choice. So this is when they bring in Dana, Anthony, and Michelle, Gino's family members, and according to Gino, his immediate family supports him, but Dana and Michelle are the only ones that don't and are actually on Jasmine's side. This is when things get pretty tense because Dana gets up and they have to separate them, but he does say that he believes that Gino was trying to hide Jasmine from his family, and it was because he knew that within 1 week of Jasmine being in the US, that he didn't want to be with her. Apparently, it was even before he got married to her that he had similar thoughts. And I believe that he probably said something like that to Dana because Dana was kind of the only one that we would even see him spend a lot of time with on the show. So I have a strong feeling that he did a lot of opening up from time to time. And it could also explain their intimacy issue, even though he kept claiming that it was because of their constant arguing. I just couldn't believe that was the only reason. But Gino's nephew, Anthony, said that according to Gino, he and Jasmine were still being intimate with each other up until the point that they went on the last resort, but I think that was a load of BS. But Gino claims that he has phone records of conversations between Jasmine and Matt before he agreed to the open relationship, but then it's just a record of them calling each other a lot. He doesn't know what these conversations were about. It doesn't really prove anything. However, do I think it leaves you to question if they were having an emotional relationship? Yes. But we move on to Gino entertaining a relationship with Natalie on this season, but he wasn't really honest with her about his open marriage with Jasmine, and she comes on basically reprimanding Jasmine for her putting her hands on her when she saw her at Dana's B-Day party, and I think that she deserved that, because even if you felt a way about her being there, why are you getting in her face and putting your hands on her? Calling her a B-word and a W-H-O-R-E was one thing, but when Jasmine shoved her, that was definitely unacceptable. I think in that moment of Natalie calling her out that she should have just apologized because she was dead wrong for that, because I think that it doesn't really matter how heated you are, putting your hands on someone just isn't it, and in that regard Jasmine needs to kind of grow the hell up. But most of the other couples think that Gino should just leave the situation alone, go move on, and to be honest, it would save him a lot of money if he did, but I understand to an extent why he is pursuing the issue. However, I don't think that he's gonna win because I don't think that he'll be able to really prove that it was immigration fraud. So after the majority of this part of the tell-all being given to Gino and Jasmine's never-ending drama, we move on to our Miami friend group, Lauren and Alexi, Liz and Andre, Jovi and Yara. So first they touch on the whole issue of Lauren supposedly calling Andre a horrible man because that was technically the straw that broke the camel's back in this group. They rehash the whole argument at Yara's event and they keep trying to make Alexi out to be this big bad body shamer and completely glazing over the fact that they were the ones yelling about this in public with other people around. Liz keeps trying to put things off on everyone else as being the reason that she and Lauren can't trust each other and be friends anymore, and Lauren just shouts, "'Cause you opened your effing mouth." And I was like, I have never seen Lauren this mad before, y'all. She was pissed. Then they bring up the issue of Andre going through Liz's text messages between her and Lauren. He tries to make it seem like he just happened to stumble upon them, but he really was just being nosy. But he starts talking about what he claimed he saw and how Alexi was comparing Lauren to other women that he would see at the bar when he would go out sometimes. And it even had Alexi questioning if Lauren had actually said these things. But according to Alexi, this was just around the time that Lauren was having some body image issues because she just had 3 kids in just a few years, but he was just supporting her in getting surgery. But Liz apparently read that as body shaming, but in my opinion, I think that's a totally different thing. But Andre just keeps going, and Lauren is yelling in another language that he's a son of a WHORE, and then he starts baiting Alexi to an actual fight outside. And I just don't know what it is with this man, why he always has to resort to something physical, why he can't just use his words. I give it to him when they were back in the house that he actually was talking, you know, and just having a conversation with Jovi. Jovi was the one that escalated it. But in most cases with Andre, it's always something physical. But yeah, I don't know. But that wraps up part 1 of the tell-all. But stay tuned for the next video. I might just end up putting all the other parts together into one, but we shall see. But I'll catch you guys in the next one.